On this episode of Tips from the Top Floor, Kate asks about lens resolution, the lab box for film development, and Gerald wonders which lens to buy, so I'll do my best to give some general lens buying advice. This episode is made with the help of the generous support of listeners like you. Thanks for your help on tfttf.com/Patreon. This is Tips from the Top Floor, episode 772 for Thursday, April the 13th, 2017.
Tips from the top floor. Tips from the top, alright, from the top floor.
Hey and welcome, this is Chris Marker. You're listening to Tips from the Top Floor, the longest running photography show on this planet. I've been writing all day. Wow, I'm powered out. Been out taking photos for the book, been brushing up now, been kind of honing down on a few things, and it's getting closer. It's finally getting closer to this thing is taking longer than expected. But hey, what do? You have to do this. It's a creative process, right? You kind of go back to the drawing board and throw a few things around and move something and cut some stuff out and so on. But hey, I'm getting more and more happy about how this is turning out. So the work is worth it. What else? I've also been preparing for this year's first workshop in the Viewfinder Villa next weekend. There will be many more this year. And also, what else? Easter is upon us, which is a holiday in Germany. Actually, both Friday and Monday are off for everyone in Germany. Yay! It's awesome to live in Germany. So it's a long weekend, which is also quite welcome, even though I'm self-employed. I don't really take weekends, but it changes the dynamics, if people are at home, and it just changes things. One more thing. I've picked up rowing again. Okay, just backstory. A few years ago, I bought a rowing machine. And I used it every morning for quite a while and managed to lose some weight with the help of that. Also nutrition and stuff, but the rowing kind of supports that quite well. And I think I lost almost 40 pounds back then. And I've just packed some of that on again. So a few days ago, I decided, it's time to pick that up again, to start rowing again in the mornings. And it does feel good. It really gives me a boost. And I'm telling you this just to put a bit more pressure on myself, just to keep myself accountable. So I will update you on my progress next week. Anyway, let's dive right in. First question is by Cade.
Hey Chris, this is Cade from North Las Vegas, Nevada. 2 quick things. First, I don't understand how some lenses claim to be able to resolve higher resolutions than others. How does one make a lens that can only resolve low megapixel sensors? The other is not a question, it's just a note. Have you heard of the new Lab Box Kickstarter? Sounds like a pretty cool device for people who are into film. I recently backed it so I can use it with my Brownie. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Thanks, Cade. Lens resolution and lab box. Let's talk about lens resolution first. It's a term I don't like because I think it's very misleading. And that's because lenses don't care what resolution the sensor has that they're in front of. You can take any shard of glass and put it in front of your camera and call that a lens, and it will certainly produce some form of picture. So it doesn't really matter to the sensor. The lens has one task. Well, it has several tasks, but that's kind of the most important one: to focus light onto the sensor. And if we look at Let's take a lens apart, right? Let's take just the front element out of there. It's a magnifying glass. That's what it is. It's a piece of glass that's ground in a certain way to bend the light and focus light. So it's a magnifying glass, and now there are good ones and there are bad ones. A good one is more precise in the way it's made. And if you've ever seen how they make lenses, they grind glass and they polish it and do very high specifications. Or a bad one has less precision. It's just not as good. And if you would take that lens and focus the sun on a rock, we've all done this as kids, right? Now this time, leave the insects out of the game. But focus the sun on a rock, and with a good lens, with a good magnifying glass, you will get a very tiny dot there. And with a not as good lens, that will be more blurry and harder to achieve. And that's what the difference is. And that's what's meant when someone claims the lens has a certain resolution. It pretty much means the lens is capable of projecting detail into the camera at such a high detail that a sensor with the according amount of pixels gets enough information to produce a sharp image. So next time when someone says this lens can resolve 20 megapixels, that's pretty much what it means. It's sharp enough for a 20 megapixel sensor. That's the first one. The second one, the lab box. It's a Kickstarter project. Well, it's already over. At this point, they're already funded. But I would guess they'll keep producing it after the backers receive their products. And for me, from my perspective, and I do shoot film and I develop film myself, I think the main purpose of the lab box is to take the fear out of developing film. Because, I mean, first of all, developing film is really easy. And I know that a lot of people are curious about it, especially digital natives who've never had that analog experience. But wherever you read about it, it might be kind of a little bit intimidating to get started, to try it out. Like with every new thing, it's like, what if I make a mistake? Or do I really want to spend X amount of money into getting into developing my own film? Which, side note, which is, by the way, why we've written the film photography handbook, to make that easier for everyone. So anyway, that what the lab box promises is to make this whole process simple. And they claim, and at this point it's all claims, right? They haven't made it yet. They have some videos on their site and looked fairly good though. So the claim is that you can easily wind your film into the box in daylight, so you don't need any special dark room or anything. And then you can develop your film in the box. And they have one liquid, like the developer-fixer combination. And it looks fairly easy, right? But being who I am, of course, I have a few thoughts on it. So let me go through those. First, I backed the lab box. I gave them money. Not that I need something to take away my fear of developing film, because I have plenty of development tanks here and all the stuff that I'd ever need for it. But I want to get my hands on this just to see what the big hype is about. Second, I assume they will deliver on their promise. Doesn't look too hard to do, so you can load it in daylight, and that looks doable. That's actually not a new design. The thing they're doing looks fairly modern, but the principle behind it has been around before. These daylight loading tanks have been around before. If you don't have one of these, what you would traditionally do is take a development box, a development tank, and a so-called dark, what is it called? A changing bag. Yeah, that's what it is. A changing bag, which is pretty much a black bag with a zipper and two holes to stick your arms in, so you can put a film in the development tank while you are inside that black bag, and that keeps the light out, and that's just the lab box eliminates that part, so that is fine enough. A third, it's clearly targeted at those who only occasionally want to develop a roll of film, because you will be limited to one roll of film at a time. That's what you do. You have to you spool the roll of film into that lab box thing, and that's it, one roll of film. And then you develop that, and then when you want to continue, you have to go single file, which is yeah. I mean, I usually go out and shoot 3, 4, 5 rolls of film, and then I use a bigger development tank and just develop them all together in one go. So I'm definitely faster with the way I do this. But anyway, if you only occasionally want to do this, hey, sounds fair enough. Fourth, compared to just getting like a regular development tank and the chemicals, it seems a bit pricey. So that's another thing to think about. But again, I backed it. So yeah, I was happy to to help them, because it takes the fear out of things. It gets more people interested and maybe started with shooting film, and that's awesome. So that's the main thing that I see in it, is that's something that takes the fear away. But last but not least, let's quickly talk about the monobath developer. That's what they are I think want to deliver with it. A monobath developer. So normally what you would do is you would use developer and then fixer. The developer develops the silver in the film. So all the silver that has seen light now turns black from the developer, and then the fixer in a second stage takes away the silver that hasn't seen light. So it pretty much clears the film in those areas that haven't seen light. And this is how you get this negative image. And there's a good reason why these are separate chemicals. You can put them both into one liquid, which is then what's called a monobath developer. And they will add a level of convenience. But if you look at the history of this, over the years, many have tried to make a good monobath developer, and they have all failed for various reasons. So they are very limited in their use. And this one might work with like very specific film. Use this and this film, and then you can use the monobath developer. But there's a reason that we don't all use monobath developers these days. The separate developer and fixer are just way more reliable, and the results speak for themselves. So in short, I think the Labbox is a cool gadget. It's definitely worth a look if you don't mind to spend some extra cash compared to the more traditional approach. And it has the potential to help beginners overcome the initial hurdle of developing film. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on this. Record your thoughts and send them to voice@tfttf.com. Let me take a minute and thank our sponsor, Keepsake. You know this, we always have our phones with us, and the cameras in our phones get better and better, which is why many of our best memories are now captured on those devices. But then we forget about those photos and leave them to gather dust in our camera roll. Now that can change thanks to Keepsake. Keepsake is an app that lets you take the photos on your phone and have them printed, framed, and delivered to your doorstep, straight from your phone to home. All you have to do is download the app and start uploading your favorite photos. The prices are fantastic and much better than your local frame shop. Not to mention, you get free shipping straight to your door. All of Keepsake's frames are individually handmade in the United States in tons of different styles, including wood frames, modern frames, rustic frames, and black frames. So don't lose those memories on your phone. Do something with them. And of course, they've cut a special deal for you, the Tips from the Top Floor listeners. Download the 5-star rated app today by searching Keepsake in the App Store. That's KEEPSAKE. And use promo code TOPFLOOR for 15% off your first order. That's 15% using promo code TOPFLOOR. And I thank them so much for the support.
Hello Chris, this is Gerald from Niagara Falls. I just had a quick question on upgrading my lenses. I've been working with the Sony A58 kit lens for about the last 3 years, and I think it's time to upgrade my lens. I can't decide from the Sigma 18 to 35 f1.8 and the Sigma 17 to 50 f2.8. If you can give me your opinion on these, that would be great. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Gerald, for the question. I appreciate all questions, even those asking me for lenses, but I get these kinds of questions so often that I could literally rename this show from photography tips from the top floor to lens shopping tips from the top floor, because that is really among the most asked question. Now, let me get a few things out here. While I love to have a simple answer, I would totally love to be able to tell you, take these 70 to 50 or the 18 to 35. I don't. don't have an answer because it depends on so many factors. I also don't know these specific lenses. I never shot with them. So just given the sheer amount of lenses out there by all the different manufacturers, I can't give you a specific recommendation. And I would love to be able to do this. I can give you some general recommendations though. And those come down to a few questions that I will ask myself when I look at new lenses. And the first is, what's my goal? Second is, what's my quality needs? And third is, what's my budget? So the question is, do you need a lens? That's another question I ask myself. Do I need this lens or do I want this lens? For me personally, that is really the main question, especially when I have a limited budget. It's also important in my case, because I travel a lot, that that lenses aren't too heavy. So I would, for example, not travel with a 70-200 f2.8 with an image stabilizer, because those are huge beasts. They are amazing in their image quality, but they don't really lend themselves to traveling, at least not in my case. So that's what I would not get. But again, your mileage might vary. Your criteria might be very different than mine. So I can only give you general recommendations. But let's do an example based on my own criteria. Because just a while ago, I was shopping. I was shopping for a new 50mm prime. And from Canon, I shoot Canon. So I had 3 different ones to choose from. They have 3 ones on the market right now. If you want to buy new, that's the 50 1.8 STM, the 50 1.4 USM, and the 50 1.2L. Let's look at the budget here. The first one, the 50 1.8 STM, is about $125. The 50 1.4 USM is about $330, and the 50 1.2L is about $1,400. So with these numbers in mind, what's my goal? What I need them for? And I do need this 50mm lens for different kinds of things. It's more of a general purpose lens, general shooting, and shooting in low light, because it goes, anywhere from 1.8 to 1.2 at its widest open aperture, depending on which one I choose. But 1.8 is already very bright, so that lends itself to shooting in low light. Okay, second question is, what are my quality needs? Well, again, general shooting, I'm not gonna use this in a scientific environment, and I'm not really fuzzy about the picture quality of my lenses anyway, because I don't think you need to have the sharpest possible images to convey emotion in your photos. So that's not a criterion for me. And also, I don't really want to shoot in extreme conditions with a 50mm. So third, what's my budget? Again, they go from $125 up to $1,400. But spending $1,400 for that 1.2 lens with the needs I have, no way. I'd rather spend a bit less and use the rest for something else. So my answer is, and that was pretty much the long thought process, but in short, and that really took me only 5 minutes to look at the 3 options and go, okay, the 51.8 STM, that's it, $125. Image quality is decent, very decent for a 50mm lens. The price is amazing, and that's why I chose that. Another example, again, the 24mm tilt shift lens by Canon. That's a $1,200 lens. Now, when I looked at this, first I thought, okay, again, what's my goal? Well, I want to shoot wide angle and I want to do perspective and focus correction. And that's one of the lenses that offers that. Second, what are my quality needs? Well, I will shoot with this in a lot of different conditions, as in like the mountains, in wind and weather, and that's not going to be treated nicely. And my budget, well, I don't really have a choice, because if I want to satisfy the other goals, then that's what I have to do, and that's where the need portion comes in. Do I want or need this lens? Well, I need it for my specific style. That's kind of the only kind of lens that does it. The answer is, yeah, get it. That was pretty okay. I had to save up for it, but I didn't really have a way around that lens for the kind of shooting that I wanted to do. And it was important enough for me to do it. So again, back to your case, those two lenses, the Sigma 18-35 f1.8 and the Sigma 17-50 f2.8, from a focus range, from a focal length range, they're awfully close together, right? 18-35 versus 17-50. For me personally, that wouldn't be a deciding factor. Second is the quality of them. Well, I don't really know the quality of them because I haven't tested them and I haven't really read up about them. So that's maybe where some reviews, some online reviews might help. And then from a budget point of view, the 18-35 1.8 is 700 euros here on our side of the pond. The 17-50 is about 300 euros. So the 18-35 is more than twice as expensive. So I would assume that the more expensive one is also the one with a general better build and optical quality, but I don't know. So that's some research that you might have to do. But the answer for you comes pretty much down to budget at this point, right? Are you willing to spend that much money? And do you really have a need for that kind of a quality? Here's a suggestion. Try to find people, or maybe try to find a shop that will lend that lens to you for a weekend. Or come on a workshop somewhere where other people are that might have those lenses so you can swap around and test them. Find a way to test that lens before you buy it. Or find a dealer who's willing to take it back if it doesn't really fit your needs. And that was it for this episode of Tips on the Top Floor. Thank you so much for listening. If you're not subscribed to the show, hey, go to TFTTF.com, click the big subscribe button on the right-hand side, and just get the show automatically in your sleep on your smartphone.
I remember that.
And again, this episode is brought to you by the generous support of listeners like you. Thank you so much for your continued support on Patreon, tfttf.com/Patreon.
It ain't as easy as it seems.
And of course, there are still more ways than becoming a Patreon supporter to support this show. What's most important by a long stretch is actually the ratings and especially reviews on iTunes. iTunes is the main place of podcast discovery, and it will reward podcasts with more review activity by moving them up in the search results. So if someone enters photography in the search box and Tips from the Top Floor has recently had new reviews, then it will be ranked higher, and that's pretty much the most important way for me to get new people to listen to the show. And you can, of course, spread the word as well. Tell others about the show. Share the show on social media. There are little social media buttons under each of the episodes on the homepage. Any support is wonderful, and I'm eternally grateful for your help. Get your questions on the show by recording them with your voice recording app of choice and send them to voice@tfttf.com. Music for the show by Jeff Smith, silent partner, and Hans-Peter Kagerud. Publishing by Slack Challenge Master and Release Pixie Matt Revstar Armstead. Slack invitations handled by Chief Invitation Officer Russ.
I remember that.
My name is Chris Marquardt. Follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Chris Marquardt, Chris Marquardt. And of course, go out and take amazing photos.
As easy as it seems.
Be nice to each other.
Leave it all behind.
And happy shooting.